They're sitting reading their breviary. That's a book of prayers that clergy have, or praying a rosary, or doing. The one thing we know they're not doing is checking Instagram because their devices have all been confiscated.
I believe the kids call it raw-dogging it.
What? That's a big game, man.
If you're going to go through a long period of time with no electronic device.
Yeah.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. Broadcasting from a Montana wilderness fortress at the headwaters of the Missouri, this is Matt Christiansen Live.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Matt Christiansen Live, a proud duct tape production for Wednesday, May 7th, 2025. Thank you for tuning in. Joining me tonight for his monthly appearance is my friend Frank from Quite Frankly. Nice to see you again, Frank. And I swear we did not coordinate outfits. This is an organic development.
Oh, wow. Do you have like a charcoal gray shirt on?
I actually do. Now, listeners of this stream will notice I frequently cycle between plain black and plain charcoal gray. One, because I just like the look of it, but if you really want to know the truth, these lights are really hot on me, and I tend to get nasty sweat stains in my armpits, and black and charcoal tends to hide that the best.
That's a good one. Yeah, the worst thing you can do is wear like a blue-gray.
I like a good gray shirt, but I don't do it on the stream for that reason. You're going to be soaked in the armpits and look like a jackass.
Yeah, so. It's a dad thing. You start looking like a dad. Yeah. I never had really. If you work out hard enough, everybody sweats. But I don't know. There's something about broadcasting that makes you sweaty. Like that's a big reason why I wear my hat. I take pride shaving my head and making sure that I'm perfectly bald, but there's just something about absorbing all of the sweat. It only happens.
You don't want to be dripping on your stream. That's for sure.
Oh, I'm not going to drip. I'm not going to drip, but there's a moistness that I cannot deal with in this situation. I need to be completely dry.
Need to get we need some kind of deodorant antiperspirant sponsor for the show. If you're out there and you've got a good product, send me an email. Anyway, quitefrankly.tv for all things Quite Frankly. The show is live weeknights at 7 Eastern. Plenty to talk about tonight. No Pope selected, Frank, on the first day of the Papal Conclave at the Sistine Chapel. As you heard in the intro, though, a CBS anchor did describe the events today in a hilarious way. They're raw-dogging down at the Papal Conclave, so...
Yes, they are. Okay, so here's the funny thing. It's cringe because, of course, we're talking about the generational divide and using this word, but he didn't use it wrong.
I want to talk about that because I had to double check with my wife because I know what this means in its original way.
Yeah,
but am I missing another way? Oh yeah. So he's not off. It's just contextually. Raw-dogging and the Papal Conclave, I don't think are things you want to mix.
No,
he did it.
No, but he in a pop culture sense to say that man, I'm going to raw dog this seminar. Yeah. I'm just going to raw dog this night shift here. I'm not going to take any breaks. I'm collecting full whatever the hell to be able to gut through something, to do something without stopping. I'm raw dogging this marathon. I'm not going to stop for water. I'm going through the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
That's how it's funny. You use it, but of course, like you said, the origin is we're talking about unprotected, really sweaty acrobatic sex, and he can't say that now.
I'm waiting to see if he gets punished by the network, but we'll talk about it a little bit more later when I play the clip. India hit Pakistan with airstrikes in response to the terrorist attack last month. Before you're out of here, Frank, I also got to talk. Pam Bondi had an update or a non-update on the Epstein files today. And now it's not just files that are of such high volume that they can't possibly get them out there in a reasonable timeline. Now it's videos. It's thousands and thousands of videos that FBI agents are diligently watching as we speak. So stand by for those files, assuredly.
Yes. I watched that clip tonight as well. So yeah, there's a lot to be said about that.
Plenty of other items as well. Batman's going to join when Frank is done. We'll take some calls. We'll take some emails, plus your super chats, of course, before we're out of here. If you'd like to call the show, you can do that through the Discord server that's linked in the description. There are instructions and help available on the server for you. So, Frank, as I mentioned, no new pope yet today over at the Papal Conclave. And there was black smoke. We saw black smoke at the end of the day over in Vatican City, which of course means, no pope selected.
Negative.
133 cardinals around the world from around the world gathered at the chapel, 10 Americans. And of course, while this is playing out, none of them, they're Rawdogging. None of them have contact with the outside world. Now I looked it up, and Pope Francis, his selection in 2013, that was 5 votes and it took 2 days. Pope Benedict was elected after 4 votes, and that was 1 day in 2005. And then Pope John Paul II was elected after 8 votes, 2 days in 1978. So maybe tomorrow, but what are your thoughts on the papal selection generally?
In general, well, I am a Roman Catholic. And this has always been very intriguing to me, though I see this as political as anything else. If you're an American and I think you assess things that are going on in your country responsibly. I think if you're a patriotic, a tradition-loving American, then you don't see anything very, very good coming out of your government, and you don't trust it very much. In fact, that's one of the tenets of the American tradition is disdain and distrust of your government. But especially when it starts improving time and time again, it doesn't have your best interest in mind, then you just got to take that to the bank. Same thing here for Roman Catholicism. And this election process and who Francis was and the abdication of Benedict and all of the mystery swirling around that. And we're talking, this is very geopolitical. It is New World Order central. That merging of how Archbishop Vigano said the deep church and the deep state, he started saying that and really bringing attention to that in 2020 with those open letters to Donald Trump during COVID and all that. But it goes back a lot farther. And we were talking about it last night. I had Leo Zagami on the show. He has a new book out. So we were talking about the Jesuits and all of that. And he seems to think that this is leaning toward either the African Peter Turkson, or we're going to get a Filipino Chinese guy. And I think his name is Tagle, or Antonio Tagle. There's a lot of things that are going on here, especially since 80% of the cardinals that are going to be the prelates that are going to be voting have been put in place by Francis.
Yeah.
And, in an American sense, we talk about court stacking all the time. We talk about going, getting your day in court in one jurisdiction or another, knowing what the jury is going to be like. And it's a lot of the same things. And when you see this merging of global World Economic Forum, Fourth Industrial Revolution, Great Narrative, Great Reset, Agenda 2030 mindset that has been slowly and very meticulously merging with major faith centers around the world. You go into that Abu Dhabi gathering between Muslims and Pope Francis and whatever the hell else. I don't know. I have a feeling in my gut that doesn't feel too good. And I just think that those who live the faith are going to have to continue just to take it into their own hands. And
what about the African guy? Because I was wondering this, breaking down the papal candidates the other week, because it seemed like there was probably a diversity push for the first African pope, or at least the first modern African pope. But all the black guys are very, very traditional, or they're the anti-Francis. And
you're talking about Sarah?
Well, I don't know that guy specifically, but the candidates we were reading about certainly are. And I wonder, do you think there's a chance that the church opts to make something of a diversity decision in that they're picking the first modern African pope, but in something of an ironic sense, they go back to a much more traditional faith?
That would be the case. Listen, it's the same. Like, again, like I'm saying, it's the same thing with American politics or any other place in the so-called democratic West. You have race, gender, equity, all that stuff comes into play. Progressivism, the path we're on, where we're going, and what we want to change, not what we want to preserve, not what traditions we want to preserve. And in that mix are always considerations, very shallow considerations about the firsts and being first in something, especially when it comes to something as shallow and superficial as skin color. They're not going to go to a Robert Sarah, who, I mean, you want to talk about some based African cardinals. There are a few there. They're going to be avoided, though, because it's just, again, it's whatever checks boxes in the United States, it's going to play in this respect, too. Some of them are also really old. Like I said, that Cardinal Sarah guy who's really fucking based. He's like 80 years old. So I don't know. This other guy, Turkson, I think he's like already 76. But it's really just about, I think, dissolving the papacy into something that is a little bit more conciliar, and that has been on the chopping block since, for a long time here. Malachi Martin wrote about it in Windswept House, and he's talked about it in so many of his interviews with Art Bell and others about what was going on inside of the church to try to subvert and undercut and take people like John Paul. John Paul II was the one who was going to be forced to resign the first time, but he kind of survived. And he wrote all about this in Windswept House. And then suddenly you see whatever the hell was in that book that came out in 1996 actually happened to Benedict. And then also you see John Podesta and Clinton and Obama, as they're working the Arab Spring. There's also the Catholic Spring that's going on there. They've been attacking the Orthodox Church. This is a very important dissolution of faith centers because they want to be able to merge all of this stuff into that one world government /faith/ viscous sludge stew.
So they're doing the ballot harvesting at the Vatican too. They're dropping them in the drop boxes.
They don't. But all these votes are attached to real people. It's just that the court has been stacked.
Yeah, makes sense. So if history is any indicator, we might have a decision as soon as tomorrow. But of course, the news of today was just the gaffe over on CBS. And to your point, maybe it's not even a gaffe because technically it is applicable, but it's just funny. There was reporting today on
irreverent.
There's reporting today on CBS discussing the rules of what's going on, the Papal Conclave, how they can't use their phones, they can't use their internet. And so CBS host Tony Dockapil, I think is how you say his name. I don't know how to pronounce it, but Tony interjected to say he believes, that the kids have a term for that.
They're sitting reading their breviary that's a book of prayers that clergy have, or praying a rosary, or doing the one thing we know they're not doing is checking Instagram because their devices have all been confiscated.
I believe the kids call it rawdogging it if you're going to go through a long period of time with no electronic device.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, they're of a certain age, so they might be used to
I just wanted to. That's disgusting.
The part that made me laugh was the other woman says, well, they are of a certain age. And I know he's talking about the phone thing, but we all know what raw dogging really means in its original context. And to give as much credit as possible, as you were saying, yes, raw dogging is a trend that the kids do, where they, especially on flights, you're going to raw dog a flight. You're going to fly across the country, LA to New York. You're going to raw dog it by not using any of the conveniences available on a flight. You're not going to eat the snacks. You're not going to drink the drinks. You're not going to use your phone. You're just going to sit there and stare out the window for several hours. So technically it is applicable, but I guess my question is, do you think it seems like he does not know the original context of rawdogging.
I think he how can he not? I think that I am personally believe that this guy just feels comfortable enough with where the term has gone recently.
Okay.
He has to know what the original was. He has to.
It's one of those that even if you don't know what it is, it just sounds dirty, or it sounds like something that would be inappropriate for, say, I don't know, network coverage of the selection of a pope. But anyway.
Yeah, it is. No, it should not be used one way or another. It doesn't matter how it has crept into, the vernacular and how it has taken on different, it's almost like off-label use with drugs. It's an off-label use drug now. You can do other things with it, but we all know when you're raw dogging. I mean, maybe this is a way that they're just, hey, you know what? Start slipping this thing in. We can get more Gen Z watching our networks again. I don't know, but this is probably what the future of news is. Network news is going to be in 25 years. It's going to be all leftover slang from 2024.
Frank, I'm losing you a little bit. I think they're raw dogging your connection, but we'll see. It's hanging on. But it's kind of dipping out here and there.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. At least I think my stream is holding up, so I don't think it's my connection, but it should be good though. Anyway.
Okay.
Moving on to India and Pakistan. As of this hour, it is reported that Indian troops have retaken Kashmir. The 7-Eleven flag has been raised, Frank, in the northern part of India and/or Pakistan.
Oh, no.
And to demonstrate total domination of the Pakistanis, India sent Pakistan a picture of Justin Trudeau in full costume just to mock them. It's getting really, really heated between these two countries. But to give you a little bit of context about what's going on in India and Pakistan, there's an airstrike early this morning, local time, early Wednesday morning, local time. Actually, did I lose Frank entirely? Frank, are you gone?
I'm here. Do you hear me?
Yeah, but now your video is gone.
I see. It says the connection is going from red to yellow.
Now I have a little tiny Frank video. All right, there we go.
All right, sorry. I don't know what it is.
We'll see if it hangs on, but yeah, it was. So we had airstrikes conducted by India in Pakistan in response to this terror attack that we discussed last week on the stream, and at the time it was Pakistan was saying they had intel telling them that India was going to come airstrike them. Now a week later it happened. Pakistan, of course, denies involvement in that terror attack at that resort community in the northern part of India at the end of April. But of course, India is blaming them for it, saying we have intel to say that these are Pakistani terrorists. We're going to go get terrorist bases of operation in India, hence the airstrikes. And so early Wednesday local time, India confirmed that it has conducted several of these airstrikes in Pakistan. Pakistan says more than 20 people were killed, dozens were injured. India says it successfully hit those bases of terrorist operation, 9 separate sites. And there are claims that 2 or 3 Indian aircraft are down too. Now it's unclear, like, were they shot down? It's not just claims. There are video and photos of what is supposedly downed Indian aircraft, but nobody's saying how or why it happened. Was it pilot error? Were they shot down? It's unclear right now. But here is some reporting with some video of the scenes.
The aftermath of a sustained air assault against Pakistan by its neighbor, India. Overnight, explosions seen and heard as the two nuclear-armed countries exchanged fire. The White House scrambling to de-escalate a potentially treacherous conflict. India says it hit, quote, terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan. But Pakistan says 26 civilians were killed, including children. And this morning, the wreckage of a fighter jet. Pakistan says it shot down Indian planes.
All of these engagements have been done as a defensive measure.
And in response, Pakistan is saying it's a blatant act of war. You violated our sovereignty. Also reports of shelling from Pakistani Kashmir into Indian Kashmir. India says that shelling killed 10 people. But Frank, your thoughts? Are we on the cusp of nuclear war, or is this just going to be another episode in what has been decades of fighting?
I don't know, because it's one of those things where when you talk about nuclear arsenals, what's the point of having them if nobody uses them eventually? And I hate to, I'm not like, here, go ahead and do it, because why do we have all these bombs if we're not going to use them? But it just, eventually somebody's going to have to pop one off. Is it now? I don't know. I saw some estimates that if something, one estimate, I should say, is that depending on where a bomb was dropped, even a limited exchange between these two countries can result in well over 120 million people dead, just because of how high the population is, how dense all those population centers are. But I don't know, man. I don't know. It's crazy. It sucks because the first thing I think, if you don't see the bombs dropping, you just see a mess. I would have never known a bomb went off. I would just thought that, okay, well, that's just India. And then the next thing I think to myself is when you realize that there's actually fighting going on and people are dying, I'm like, oh, great. Now here comes the refugees. Because whenever something like this happens, all of a sudden there's a new diaspora that pops up in Minnesota somewhere. And, 100,000 people from a small little mountain town is brought in, and they're just given their own government in the middle of the United States somewhere. So I hate how jaded I am with all this stuff, because obviously I don't want wars to happen and I don't want people to die. And again, this is an opportunity for people to go and learn about another age-old, ethnic war and religious-based war as well. We're talking about Hindus and Muslims. This is an old thing here. I don't know too much about it, but I know that for the longest time that India and Pakistan don't like each other. And so I don't know. I guess it's one of those wait and see things. I'm sure everybody's hitting the phones right now and saying, don't do it. Don't do it. And I hope nothing happens, but here you go, 2025.
Yeah, I don't know the full history of the conflict, of course, but these two have been at various stages of fighting for decades. And I was looking it up. India got nukes in 1974 and Pakistan in 1998. And so, of course, in theory, any day could be nuclear day, so it shouldn't be minimized. But they've been fighting for a while and just sitting on those nukes for a while. So who knows? Maybe this is just another episode in what has been years and years of fighting anyway. But one thing I wanted to highlight before we move on, I took a stroll through the YouTube comments on that report. Thank God, now they can stop calling me. I know. This is going to be the stinkiest war ever. And the silliest comment of them all. Let's try something new. Let's mind our own business and stay out of it. One can dream, I think. But
one could dream. No, yeah. But I would say that we will find a way to be a mediating force in this as well. And hey, if you can be the country that says, hey, come on, guys, don't do this, and they actually listen, then fine. But just please, no supporting one side or another, no sanctions, no, just stay the hell. Yeah, if you want to sue for peace and you just want to be a inhabitant of the planet, and you don't want to see any kind of nuclear exchange or loss of life, innocent life just makes you feel sad, then fine. Go ahead and make a play for peace. But please, I don't want to see one bayonet make its way into that area. Please.
Well, before you're out of here, I wanted to talk to you about the update in the saga of the truckload of Epstein files. So just to give everybody the context, of course, recall weeks and months ago, Attorney General Pam Bondi said she has all these Epstein files on her desk ready to go. We're all going to see them very soon. And then she gave those binders to a bunch of conservative social media personalities. It was all a big show. There was really no new information in those binders. And then she said on Fox News, the Epstein files, they've been hidden by the Southern District of New York and FBI agents and DOJ personnel up there. They all hid the files, but we're cracking down. We're going to go get them. And then, in another Fox News appearance, said a truckload of Epstein files has been delivered to her. And she has FBI agents working around the clock to analyze this information for release. Just you wait for that. And we all have been waiting for that for weeks and weeks and weeks. And so far, it's been nothing but chirps. And recently, this week, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer said he thinks the Epstein files have just gone missing, or maybe didn't exist, or they got shredded. But he has no idea what's going on with the DOJ. He said, quote, "I hope they're not shredding documents right now." And so this morning, Pam Bondi comes out. She's talking to reporters. One reporter asks her about the status of the Epstein files. And she said, no way, they're not missing. In fact, not only do we have a bunch of files, now we have thousands and thousands of videos. And soon that information is going to be coming out.
James Comer said yesterday that all the Epstein files are missing. Can you confirm the status of them? We still haven't heard from you.
No, the FBI, they're reviewing, there are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. And there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now. The FBI is diligently going through that. I haven't seen that statement, but I'll call him later and find out.
All right. What are your thoughts on this, Frank?
I just said this on my show tonight because we watched this clip. The only thing that they have to show the public is everything that the FBI did with Operation Leap Year. Everything. The entire thing. The investigation's already been done, and then it was scuttled by some higher up there. Maybe one of those people that Cynthia McCain said was just so, they were just, I don't know. You remember when she said that people were scared of this guy for some reason? Why is it? Cynthia McCain's husband, one of the most powerful men on the earth, who's not the president of the United States, he and all of his friends were just too afraid to go after Jeffrey Epstein. Why was it? Because he was a rich financier? No, there's big organizations that are bigger than our legislative bodies that were in on this, and the FBI had all the work done. Look into Operation Leap Year. Now, to say that, first of all, you remind us about that ridiculous Bindergate bullshit. And the day before, where she says, "I've got sick things on my desk," you'd never believe it. It makes me know. That tells me Pam Bondi doesn't know her ass from her elbow if she didn't know that whatever was on her desk was already given to us years prior. Okay? So she doesn't know her ass from her elbow. That's very disconcerting in that respect. And then to say that, now the FBI, no, we have everything. They're going through thousands of videotapes of Jeffrey Epstein personally abusing young girls and all that stuff. Listen, very sorry for that everybody, but we're not, what? This is what you have? He just had thousands of tapes of himself fondling young girls and abusing young girls. Why is it that after everything, there's only been one arrest, one person supposedly put in jail, and that is Ghislaine Maxwell? It's not about Jeff.
I even heard the theory that she's not in jail. What's that about?
I even think that is a cozy little theory because again, when she's in trial in 2021 or whenever the hell it was in the middle of COVID, because COVID was the reason why they had to speed her through the trial. When she was there on trial, I said to myself, this is going to be a really interesting game of chicken, because you have Ghislaine Maxwell on one end of the thing, the prosecutors, the judge, the defense, everybody's on the same team. Everybody has to find a way to get this thing adequately wrapped up and let the public believe that they got a nice scalp for a very hot, provocative and seedy story. But at the same time, Ghislaine knows where so many of the bodies are buried. She knows who is allowing this operation to go on, who is benefiting from the operation, the honeypot operation to go on. And the people who benefit were on the other side, the prosecution, the judge, the federal, the whole damn system. I said, this is a very interesting game of chicken. Who the hell is, and what kind of punishment is really going to be given to Ghislaine Maxwell? And so for everybody saying, I know, I've seen Ghislaine's lawyer go on Lauren Conlon's show and stuff and say he's spoken to her here, spoken to her there. There's still just something that tells me that at night she's being let out, she can go home, and the public is just getting stories about her being the captain of the prison softball team. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just wouldn't be surprised.
They're going to put her on Alcatraz really soon.
Yeah, I know that's reopening.
Speaking of going home, lights out, huh? It's about that time.
It's a 9:30 thing.
The only thing I wanted to say about this too is like, okay, even if true, which I don't really believe anything Pam Bondi says much in general, but specifically in this context, even if true, you have a whole bunch of videos of Jeffrey Epstein doing all sorts of things to minors. Yeah, we know. All right. It's not about Epstein. It's about who was in on it. It's about all the other people. The information we need is who's connected to him or who was he blackmailing or whatever the tentacles of the operation were. It's not about Epstein. Yeah. Everybody knows Epstein, the guy, was doing that. We don't need to see videos of that happening. Just like we didn't need to see those Hunter Biden videos, but there they were.
I know. It's almost as if Pam Bondi believes that what the public who look into this story for what it is and want to know exactly how bad it was. She acts, at least from that video, it almost seems as if the collective public is demanding to know his body count, his personal body count. How many girls was he with?
Yeah.
How many girls did he abuse? How many were trafficked? Like no. We understand Jeffrey Epstein, the enigmatic character. Who is he? Who's got their hands up his ass, working him like a puppet? Who gave him his permissions to operate the way he did? Who's Ghislaine Maxwell? Who's her father? Who are, but give us more. Don't tell us that after that, you're 100% right. We're not looking for Jeffrey Epstein's personal body count. And that's why when I heard this statement, man, I was like, why are you even dedicating FBI agents to this? You're going to make them watch him diddle little kids for what? To say, well, it's true. He was with hundreds.
That's a rough assignment, man. That's really
very rough.
Quit your job. You already should if you work at the FBI, but definitely if you got that assignment.
Leap year. Until they say here's leap year, then it means nothing.
Yeah. All right, Frank. Well, I appreciate you stopping by. I want to be respectful of your time, but of course, if you got anything else you want to say before you're out of here, you're welcome to it. But quitefrankly.tv, if people want to find Quite Frankly, it's live weeknights at 7 Eastern.
I appreciate you, man. I always love coming back. And again, like I said, next time we talk, it'll be June. That's weird.
It's the year's disappearing already. And I didn't even give Frank credit. Frank was 5 minutes early this evening. That's how much he respects me and this audience, which I really appreciate. I know. Well, listen, it was stressing me out being that late. So again, thank you everybody for welcoming me here to your cozy little abode on a Wednesday night. I'm looking forward to the next one. Talk soon, sir. All right. Thank you, Frank. There he goes. Quitefrankly.tv is where you find everything Quite Frankly. And I appreciate everybody who comes over from Frank's audience as well. We're really happy to have you here. So we'll see Frank back next month. But in the meantime, I got to go find Batman. We'll talk a couple more stories and we will get into your calls and your emails. So I'll be right back.
Stand back and stand by.
Hello, Batman.
How we doing today?
Before I forget, little on-air production meeting, but we discussed previously potentially reviewing Rust, right?
We did.
Okay, so I confirmed that it is available, at least on Amazon Prime. So maybe the next time you're on Sunday, we do a formal Rust review. What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it. I want to do this.
I saw on Amazon Prime it had like 2 reviews, so maybe not a lot of promotional budget for Rust. I don't think people realized that it was released. I didn't until someone in the chat told me.
Okay. Well, I'm I'm looking forward to seeing, just like watching The Crow, seeing a production that has killed people.
I'm curious if I shouldn't laugh. It's terrible. But it's just, yeah, I mean, the movie will always be defined by that. And one thing I'm curious to see, that has to be acknowledged in the movie, right? Is it like a straight away thing? Do they put something on screen to start? Is it buried in the credits at the end? Like, oh, it's dedicated to the memory of Helena Hutchins. I know that her husband guy got a bunch of deals, or like had some kind of settlement with Alec Baldwin. Maybe there was something pursuant to that. Anyway. When I'm watching for what the movie is, I'll be watching for how they handle the elephant in the room as much as like the story of the movie itself.
I would operate under the assumption they tried to ignore it.
We'll have to find out. We'll figure it out in a couple weeks when we do the rest review. Anyway, before we take some calls, I had a few items I wanted to discuss with you. So I want to start with, did you see the Canadian Prime Minister's visit to the White House to talk to Trump yesterday?
Yeah, and all of a sudden his language was so much more timid. I wonder why that might be.
Okay, so that's another angle. I don't have a video of that, but I was listening to this from the watching Trump perspective because, well, let me explain. Canadian Prime Minister Mike Carney, or Mike. His name's Mark. 50-50 shot, coin flip. It's Mark. I know it. Anyway, he's at the White House. He's fresh off the big win for the Liberal Party in the federal election last week. Now, Trump and Carney talked about a bunch of stuff. Carney rejected this 51st state stuff. Canada's not for sale. Talked about, of course, they talked about trade. They talked about the Houthis and I guess a ceasefire with the Houthis, or the Houthis don't want to fight anymore over in Yemen. But Trump did this thing again where he's very friendly with someone who certainly I don't think deserves the praise, even though I get what maybe Trump's trying to do. He did it with Gretchen Whitmer a couple times recently. Like, Gretchen Whitmer's a great governor and a great person. No, she's not, but what are you trying to achieve? Trump does variations of this all the time. You know, he calls enemies great people when he's trying to negotiate. But I thought this conversation with Mark Carney was very interesting as it applies to the theory that Trump wanted Mark Carney to win in Canada. And I never really bought into that, at least leading up to the election. I thought, well, Pierre Impossible Name talks shit about Trump. Trump doesn't like anybody who talks shit about Trump, so he hit back twice as hard and let the cards fall where they may. And that ended up being a Mark Carney or Liberal Party victory. But the way Trump was talking yesterday, it was like over the top praise for Carney, the guy, and kind of implicit praise for his party too. He was just saying it straight up. You won because of me, or I played a huge role in it. And I always knew you could do it because you ran a great comeback campaign, just like I did last year.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's a great honor to have Prime Minister Mark Carney with us. As you know, just a few days ago, he won a very big election in Canada. And I think I was probably the greatest thing that happened to him, but I can't take full credit. His party was losing by a lot, and he ended up winning. So I really want to congratulate him. It was probably one of the greatest comebacks in the history of politics, maybe even greater than mine. You know? But I want to just congratulate you. That was a great election, actually. We were watching it with interest, and I think Canada chose a very talented person, a very good person.
Well, I have to disagree with that.
Now, maybe Trump is just playing nice for negotiation's sake. He rarely trashes anybody to their face. It's more of a Twitter or Truth Social thing. Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't read into it too much. But do you see that as Trump glad that Carney won? Because that's how it kind of comes off.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think I mean, he was nice to Zelensky too until Zelensky started talking trash, right? I mean, he tends to start every engagement with people, I think, with a sort of blank slate. And then when they sort of shit talk him to his face, then he'll fire back, but he usually doesn't take the first shot. When they're next to him, I mean.
Yeah. You mentioned that Carney was much more timid, and I wasn't paying attention to Carney as much as I was paying attention to Trump. So what was your Carney analysis in this interaction?
I mean, Carney has said things in the past. I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head exactly what he said before, but he has said things basically implying, Trump's a Nazi, all your stereotypical leftist talking points, right? And now all of a sudden he's much more respectful. He's, sort of in the same way that Trump is doing. Trump is doing that to him. They're sort of being more amicable now that they're actually face to face. And maybe it's simply because if they said the kind of things that they've said about each other to their faces, it would come to blows. But I mean, or something like that. Who knows? But I mean, that would sell really well. Pay-per-view on that would be fantastic.
We didn't really get any sort of deal specifics coming out of this. So the trade war is still the trade war. Nothing concrete coming out of this, but
Canada's still fucked.
Yeah, and I wouldn't expect them to be like brawling in person or something. It's just, man, it seems like Trump is really going out of his way to praise unpraiseworthy people, and I assume he has some aim in it, but or it's just pleasantries. It's just politeness, but
I have to assume that, because if it's not, that's gonna do a lot to damage my faith in this administration.
Well, pretty soon he'll name Gretchen Whitmer as Pam Bondi's replacement, and I'll say, well, that's kind of an improvement, isn't it? No, maybe not. I don't know, but
I mean,
even trade at this point.
Gretchen Whitmer might do something.
Maybe
once.
I don't know,
but I don't think it would be things that we would like. So I guess we have to take this as a treat this like integers, right? They can go positive or negative from zero.
Yeah. Well, I also want to talk a little Jasmine Crockett because, oh, that was just, never mind. That was a spousal notification. That's all. I thought it was an emergency, but it's nothing that important. Anyway, whenever we discuss Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, I always jokingly call her the representative for Waffle House because she's always engaging in Waffle House behavior. She's speaking in hood rat language. She's making vague threats of violence, among other things. This week, it took on a very direct meaning, though, and probably way too on the nose. Jasmine Crockett gave the commencement address at, how do you even say this place? Tougaloo? Do you know Tougaloo College in Jackson, Mississippi? Not Boogaloo, Tougaloo. She's giving the commencement address there at this historically black college in Jackson, Mississippi. And why any college would invite this person to speak to their graduates is his own separate question. But during her speech,
she speaks the same language.
She's an Ebonics professor at this college.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And I mean, she had to learn that. That wasn't a natural, that wasn't her mother tongue.
That's true. She is bilingual in that sense. Jasmine Crockett said the graduates, they know how to use a chair, and not just to pull it up to tables where they don't belong, but perhaps to do something else with it.
There are going to be people that tell you that you don't belong, and I am here to tell you over and over and over that you absolutely belong. There are people that are going to tell you that there is not a table in which there is a seat for you, but I am here to remind you of Montgomery and those folding chairs. Let me tell you that we know how to use a chair, whether we pulling it up or we doing something else with it. Let me be the first one to tell you that I know that y'all are ready to put your boots on the ground. That's your cue. There we go. Hey.
You ready? Where them fans at? Where them fans?
It's not against the law, ho. Fuck you.
So that was her closing message to some college graduates. Use a chair for creative purposes, implicitly violence. How do we know that's what she meant? Well, in context, it appears to be a reference to a 2023 brawl in Montgomery, Alabama, when some white private boaters fought with a number of black men. One of the black men used a folding chair as a weapon during the incident. I'm also reminded, though, of the legendary Waffle House incident of 2021, though the clip went viral in 2022. this was a Waffle House in Austin, Texas. A white woman named Hallie B was working behind the counter. There were some unruly customers of color. Some Jasmine Crockett scholars entered the establishment, and one of them threw a chair at Hallie B. But of course, Hallie deflected the chair with total confidence. But this was that legendary moment.
Oh my God, bro! Oh my God, bro! You wildin'! Yo, chill! You about to go to jail!
Now, if you're curious about the origin of that conflict, Hallie B at the time said it was late at night after bar close. 6 patrons were drunk. They came in. One of them was hassling her for beverages, and one of them said, I'm going to make that white bitch cook my food. In response to that statement, she refused. She refused to serve them. They didn't take kindly to that, so there was some chirping back and forth. A chair was thrown. Hallie actually threw a sugar shaker and was written up for that. She was not fired, but she did leave that Waffle House 2 months later. She says Waffle House has since blacklisted her from working at other locations. But coincidentally, this came up.
What a great word to use in this context, blacklisted. Isn't that fantastic? You can't make this shit up.
She definitely got blacklisted, yeah. And coincidentally, Robert referenced this incident on Sunday's stream. I had actually forgotten about it. And I felt stupid about that going back to this because, of course, it's the origin of one of my favorite sounders.
Oh my God, bro!
I knew that was from a Waffle House. I just forgot it was from the chair incident at Waffle House. And in my defense, those are so frequent, the Waffle House fights. Maybe I retire Hoax Hate of the Week and I make Waffle House Fight of the Week. They're almost that frequent. But the point is, coming back to Jasmine Crockett, the gap between the Waffle House chair chucker and Congress is very, very thin, and Jasmine Crockett is the bridge. But you have any thoughts on this episode of congressionally endorsed chair violence?
I think it's great. I think every time that she opens her mouth, it's a good thing. I mean,
it does seem like I don't know if it's like, is there an actual Democrat effort to promote her, or is it just that Trump has kind of taken her on as a target after she's picked some fights in Congress?
I think even the Democrats know she makes them look retarded.
Okay.
Which is why she doesn't get a ton of support from them, but she's loud, she's obnoxious, and she looks good on a headline. Right?
I think David Hogg versus Jasmine Crockett is the fight that we all want. Can we get them in conflict somehow?
Absolutely. And give her a chair, please.
It's over. We all know that David is unarmed, figuratively and literally. So he doesn't stand a chance. All right. I also want to talk about this interview on CNN. I have a philosophical question I want to pose to you in the context of this interview. But CNN's getting criticized for this interview with an anonymous Sinaloa cartel member. The Sinaloa cartel operates out of Mexico. It's responsible for a lot of fentanyl and other drugs entering the U.S. And the CNN reporter, Isabel Young, got the Sinaloa side of that story. She's asking this operative what he thinks about Trump and about Trump labeling the Sinaloa cartel a terrorist organization and what his message to Trump is. It is subtitled in Spanish, so I'll have to read what cartel guy says here.
According to the Trump administration, you are a terrorist. I mean, the cartels have been labeled a foreign terrorist organization. What do you make of that?
Well, the situation is ugly, but we have to eat.
What's your message to Donald Trump if he's watching this?
My respect. According to him, he's looking out for his people. But the problem is the consumers are in the United States. If there weren't any consumers, then we wouldn't be producing this, is what he's saying. Now, of course, we can talk about how deep the Trump derangement goes. A lot of the reaction to this interview was that, oh, Trump says you're bad. Are you really bad? What I thought was interesting about this exchange is the cartel guy there blaming American drug consumers for creating drug demand. And he says he and his cartel guys are only responding to that demand, which got me thinking about the moral philosophy here. For something that is morally bad to produce and consume, you're laughing at me for trying to find moral meaning in Sinaloa cartel talk, but I'm
a little bit, yeah. These are guys who put put people's heads on turtles. I mean, you're not going to find a great deal of moral consistency.
That's
with these
only
people,
because
but,
there's demand.
I applaud the effort to try.
I'm not saying I want consistency from them. I just thought about the point that if there's demand for something, obviously it doesn't excuse the moral weight of satisfying that demand. But I want to think a little bit about, for a product that is morally wrong to produce and consume, you could say drugs, you could say prostitution, or other things like that. Who is more responsible? The producer that satisfies the demand or the consumer who creates that demand? Or are they equal to blame? Now, I have some thoughts about this, but I'll invite you, if you have some up top. What do you think? Is there any truth to his claim that, like, if there wasn't this demand, we wouldn't be doing this?
Yeah, I think there is some truth to that. I mean, you if there's a demand but there's no supply, then people don't get it, right? And then the behavior stops, or at worst, it's replaced by a different behavior. Maybe they trade his drugs. I don't know what he makes, but his drugs for something else, or they trade his drugs for a different vice, getting smashed every night or whatever. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Functionally, yes, it is a moral failing to one's self to engage in drug consumption, prostitution, and all that other stuff. But ultimately, they would be unable to do that if there were no drug producers, no prostitutes, and etc. So, I mean, yeah, the person who engages in that behavior is harming themselves, and they have to square that with themselves. But the producers of this, your whores and your drug pushers and your drug whatever,
the guys who distribute, the guys who produce, all that stuff,
distributors, producers, all that stuff, their debt is so much greater. It's to entire communities. It's to families that they've screwed up. It's to whatever. You can't solve this in a confessional box. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, of course, Cartel Guy is right that this wouldn't. If demand went away, he's out of a job. It doesn't excuse him, because there's demand for hitmen too. And just because there's demand for a hitman doesn't excuse you for fulfilling the demand and committing murder. The same goes for drugs and all that. But it does work both ways, obviously. Like, if there's no demand, the producer has no reason to produce. However, if there's no production to satisfy the demand, well, I guess you're going to have to sit on your demand for a long time too. So my initial reaction was, well, they're kind of equally to blame insofar as both are necessary parts of the transaction. Now, with drugs, the law usually treats the producer or the distributor more harshly. And generally that's because the point that you're making, that in terms of scale, they're capable of creating more harm than the individual person who possesses or consumes it in a personal way. Then I was thinking about prostitution, though. Like, that kind of makes sense to me to say that the producer or the distributor is more culpable in the context of drugs because they can make this at an industrial scale. What about the prostitute, though? Like, one whore is kind of limited in her. She can't produce industrially. True, at least most can't.
Well, here's the thing, though. One whore can still owe lots and lots of families, because all it takes is one STD. And
that's true. It's just interesting to think about. I don't mean to go on to your original point. Why are we trying to extract moral philosophy from some kind of degenerate who just stirs a spoon in the fentanyl container? He's like a witch making a potion. Yeah, I don't know what.
We don't know what. We don't know what his job was. He could be a producer. They showed he had a rifle behind him, but that doesn't really mean anything in that business. Yeah. He could be a Sicario for all we know.
Yeah. Something related to the production and distribution he does. But yeah, I thought it was interesting to think about. It's like, well, clearly this guy, he's not a leader. We don't look to him for moral clarity, but Is there something to be said for the fact that there is an appetite for drugs in the United States? Were it not for an appetite for drugs in the United States, this problem would be minimized. Of course, I want the cartels in Mexico, their influence on our country, their drug trafficking in our country eliminated. But we do have our own armor against it too, and that's solid families, that's solid communities that want nothing to do with the stuff that they're pushing. Easier said than done.
And the DARE program.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Bring it back, dude. Whatever we're doing now is not working. So get Nancy Reagan out here for all like it. Something's got to change. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, when I was thinking about this earlier today, I'm like, CNN's approach in trying to talk to this guy is more complicated than it needs to be. I'm thinking about this in terms that are more complicated than necessary. Likewise, whether it's DARE or just Mr. Mackey, we got to bring him back too.
Drugs are bad. You shouldn't do drugs. If you do them, you're bad because drugs are bad. Okay.
I know that's supposed to be ironic, but is it? Just, they're bad. Don't do them.
I mean, you can say a true thing in a stupid way, and it's still funny and still true.
Yeah, I guess. Anyway.
The thing that got me most about that interview, though, was that guy's response to, what do you think about Trump? And his response was, my respect. Okay, that strikes me. Whenever you see criminals sort of interacting with each other, or even not necessarily criminals, but people who are in ostensible positions of power, they don't respect each other if that respect doesn't come with consequences for not showing that respect, if that makes any sense. Which says to me, if he's willing to say this on camera, Trump's got them scared shitless.
Yeah.
Why else would he say that on camera? That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really it's an implicit request for mercy, I guess, something like that.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. So anyway, all right, let's hop into some calls. You want to hop into the Discord server?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Forgot about that. My bad. It's been so long since Has it
been a little while since you've been on a Wednesday show? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's been a couple months.
Oh, it's been that long. All right. Well, let's wait a minute. Oh, okay. Never mind. I was like, that's you. I was like, how'd this random person get in here? Oh, wait, that's you.
Yeah, you don't usually see my my screen name, do you?
Yeah, that's right. GR,
Oh, there you go. I was watching you on screen.
What do you got for us?
You hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep.
Yeah, I was watching you on screen. I was like, they pulled me in. Why isn't it coming up?
Well, yeah, the delay between the stream and live. Oh, okay.
He can only hear you, apparently.
Oh. That's because I forgot to unmute myself. One day I'm going to have I'm going to transition to calls with perfect technical skill, but that day is not today. Anyway.
Duct tape, Matt. Duct tape.
What do you got for us?
Silence is golden, but duct tape is silver.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
But Batman was talking. Batman should have kept talking because he was the only one I could hear since you muted yourself.
Yeah, well, someday.
Okay, so I got this awesome anime parody that I wanted to tell you about. Or we could talk about the Piers Morgan shit show that, makes my call look like, perfect.
Are you talking about the N-word exchange? Because I have that queued up because it was I don't know which one you wanted to talk, which exchange specifically you wanted to talk about, but I had a few optional topics for tonight. I do have that queued up, the one of them. You want me to play it so people who missed it can see it, and then we'll talk about it?
I'm actually not familiar with this.
Okay, let me.
I'm not familiar with this, so
yeah,
let me get some context.
Go ahead.
So, you're familiar with like the playground N-word lady, right?
Yep.
Okay. So Piers Morgan and a bunch of his guests, including Mark Lamont Hill, formerly of CNN, and this Lily girl, I don't know exactly what her thing is, but she has been a social media personality for a while. Her perspective is like, words don't matter. I say the N-word and I don't care.
The hot trad wife from a few months ago that said the N-word the way you're supposed to say it.
Okay.
About men.
What does that mean?
She said it the way black people would say it.
Oh, okay. So she's just like
properly.
Oh, okay. So she's the pro N-word perspective, and Mark Lamont Hill is the not anti, but like emotionally, maybe even violently anti. Just listen to the reaction of this guy thinking about the mere proposition of hearing someone else utter the word.
Unashamedly, and you will
Well, go
not
on then,
have
say
free-
it. Say
You
the
will
M.
not have
Go on,
free
say.
speech.
Go on, say the M word. Go on.
I'm
No,
not
no,
ashamed.
no, hang
Don't
on.
invite. No. I don't want you to invite this woman to say a racially harmful term in front of me because I'm the only on here. So if she says it, I'm the victim of it. So please don't invite her for ratings to call me the N-word because that's basically what it's going to be. There's a bunch of white people up here. You and one Uncle Tom on the left here, and asking her to say the N-word while I'm here is ridiculous. You would not sit here with a Jewish person and say, please use a Jewish slur in front of this Jewish. It's ridiculous. I understand you don't have any bad intent, Pierce. I understand what you're trying to do. But we
you know
already
what,
know she's
Mark? I hear
racist,
you.
and I don't want to invite
Mark,
a racial harm to me.
I
to
hear
prove
you.
it.
I hear you, and I accept that, and we'll leave it there. Thank you all very much.
So just like the Sinaloa cartel, he's begging for mercy, Batman.
Oh man,
Please don't
what
say
a
it.
Said it
fab,
like 3 times.
what a giant pussy. That's awesome.
All right.
That's fantastic.
So-
He had a legit mental breakdown. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, at the prospect of hearing the word, that's all. Please don't say it. I won't be able to handle it. I'm going to jump through my
wasn't
screen and
even
strangle you.
said.
Yeah.
It wasn't even said.
GR, did
Something a
she
woman
say
would
it
do.
earlier, or did she say it at a different part of the broadcast?
No. This is something a woman would do. That guy, the other black dude, the bass black dude next to Piers,
Yeah.
he was actually holding the prank gun from the old movies. He was
Yeah.
actually holding like the little banner that said it. That's why they censored
Okay.
it out.
That's why it's blurred out. It's because it had the N word
Yes.
written on it.
That's
but-
Myron Gaines from Fresh and Fit, isn't it?
Yeah, looks like it.
So Lily Gaddis is the chick that used to do these child life videos on TikTok. And she was talking about men and saying, well, women aren't all like that, sluts that they get these women off, drunk as hell off of Miami Beach or something in the middle of 2 a.m. And she says, stop fucking with broke ass, She said it correctly, the way you say it, not hatefully. And she's since tried to position herself as kind of right wing, but she's kind of a slut.
Okay.
So she's
And,
Ashley St. Clair 2.0 is what you're saying.
Well, she's the first, actually, because Ashley St. Clair had a little respect for them. Remember, Ashley
okay.
St. Clair is Hillary Crowder's best friend.
Currently?
really?
Or like
Yes.
back when?
Forever.
Huh.
Okay.
You didn't know
well,
that?
makes
Yeah, I went in
no,
Ashley St.
had
Clair's
no idea.
videos, and Hillary's with her.
Okay, that makes perfect sense now.
Yeah, she's Ashley St. Clair's best friend. Oh, so Lily Gaddis had that thing. They canceled her. Doxter did all these things, right? So she's standing up for these people who do the same thing now, specifically the Shiloh woman. And they're far and few between, of course, because people don't want to get fucking firebombed.
Yeah.
So, well, here's my sort of take on this. In general, the stigma around the use of the word, and really the only reason I don't belt it out here is because we're on YouTube and I don't want to screw up Matt's entire life.
Thank you. I need mercy like the Sinaloa cartel too.
But the use of the word is really something that's been hyper stigmatized to the point that it's actually funny. Like, it's ridiculous. The amount of power that people have allowed that word
It
to
caused a
wield
grown
over
man
them.
to just act like a baby, to act like a toddler throwing it. It is so.
He was acting like a woman.
The concept is so damaging to him.
Accurate.
It's. I've never even. Well, I don't know. I guess. I don't know. I mean, I think that most women can contain themselves better than that guy did in that exchange.
Well, who was that? Riley Gaines and Lily Gaddis?
I don't remember that one. Did they have some kind of discussion or something?
No, who was the woman on the right who wasn't saying anything?
Oh, no, that's not Riley
Wasn't
Gaines.
that Riley Gaines?
No, I don't know who that is, but she just sat there stone-faced. She wasn't bothered at all.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
No,
Anyway.
like Batman, I've been listening to rap and saying it since I was like 11, but I don't say the hateful ER. I say the actual word, the way it's meant to be said.
There you go.
But,
Very
I mean,
respectful.
I really like the way that I'm trying to remember, was it Chris Rock had a comedy bit about this, but I thought actually, totally unironically, I thought it made a lot of sense, and he made this sort of social distinction between the black person and the N-word.
Yeah.
Right. So So in these communities, there's black people and there's And then he describes the behavior of a regular person, a regular, well-adjusted person who is a contributor to society, and he does generally morally good things. And then there's the people that we see on the news every day, and he makes it funnier, of course, but it's great. So the way I see it is if you behave, if you perform certain acts in a way that sort of makes you fall into that category, why shouldn't you get the label applied to you?
Well, thank you, GR. I'm glad you brought that up because that's one thing I wanted to talk about tonight and didn't get the opportunity earlier.
You know, Carlos Mencia did a whole bit about it on the show they used to have on Mind of Mencia.
Oh, I'm sure, and he stole it from somebody too.
And Method Man actually told them on the sketch that everybody could say it except white people.
Yeah, and if not only can you not say it, they'll ruin your life. They'll target you. Yeah, it's total racial ownership of a word. But thank you, GR. I appreciate your call.
All right, then. Thanks for having me on. Good talking to you.
All right,
Take care now.
Skulldugger is up next. Skulldugger, are you there?
Hello.
What's up,
man? What's up?
Yeah, long time no talk.
It's been a minute.
Since it's been a while, there is something I've been wanting to clear up with you, and that is, I know it's a bit for you, and I'd hate to take it away from you, but I can add some clarity on the historic, ahistoric.
Oh, it's historic, and that's all there is to it.
It is indeed ahistoric, according to the rules of grammar. So.
I've actually, now to be completely honest, I say it tongue in cheek to irritate people because it irritates me. And it's hilarious to me when people don't get that and want to email me some lecture about how I say it wrong. But in the limited research that I've put into it, my understanding was both were acceptable. You're saying not.
Well, so the reason why ahistoric became acceptable was because of the existence of the word ahistoric.
Oh, like something that is not historic, like something that is contrary to history.
Well, it's something that has no reverence to history.
Yeah, okay.
It also has something to do with like the pronunciations in like the Queen's English, right?
Not that I'm aware of. It's just that the general rule. The general rule was that you use an for an H word if the H is silent. Yeah. So an hour, an honest mistake.
Makes sense.
So those types of things. But because we pronounce the H in historic, it would be ahistoric. But because we have a word, ahistoric, it would require, you'd be stuck using context, which I guess is too much work for some people. So that was what I could tell.
Ahistoric. Does that work?
Yeah, there you go. Ahistoric. There you go. That works.
Yeah. Well, that's sort of the way that it is pronounced. And I've heard a lot of people who speak with British accents use, making the H silent when the sentence sort of constructs itself that way.
Well, if it's British, then it's incorrect.
I mean, they only invented the language, but what the hell do they know? They spell color weirdly and other things like that.
That's true.
Any final thoughts?
This is an historic time.
Yeah. Any final thought before I let you
just
go?
Talking about the historic election up in Canada, just before I go, I just wanted to drop sort of my take on it. Is like, I really don't know that any of it actually even matters. Like, we've done a lot of talking about the Canadian elections, and I really don't, as far as the U.S. goes, I really just don't think that it matters a whole ton. I mean, even to Trump, either way probably would have been a victory for him. Either it's Pierre Poilievre, who's more friendly to Trump and what Trump
really
wants to get
probably
done.
More pliable is a better way to put it.
But then even with this current situation, so the anti-Trump guy wins, and he's likely going to be bad for Canada, which is ultimately actually good for Trump, because he can then point to it and say, hey, look, the anti-Trump guy is bad for your country.
Yeah, that was the theory. Like, and I should have explained that more. But does Trump want Carney because he will make a weaker Canada, and a weaker Canada is easier to work with or push in a U.S. friendly direction, or even annex? But I don't.
I mean, I guess that's ultimately the only reason why it even matters is if we are actually serious with any of these annex talks, which I sincerely hope we are not serious about.
Just Alberta. Everybody else.
Just Alberta. There you go.
Sorry,
maybe
Manitoba.
I actually think a lot of
Saskatchewan.
Some of the northern territories too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of Albertans would be stoked to become sort of like be carved off to become the 51st state. I mean, I've heard plenty of people just be like, I wish, but that's never going to happen. You know, like that kind of sentiment. And I don't blame them at all. These people are not represented by the people in Ottawa, not at all.
Party in Calgary if it happens. I'll see you there. All right. Thanks for calling in, man.
All right.
See ya.
Talk to you later.
Have a good one.
Thanks for an historic call, I should say. An historic call. Glad to get it cleared up. All right. Thanks. Okay. Last call tonight is going to go to Cody. Cody, are you there?
Good evening, everyone. How are we doing today?
We are.
How are you today?
What's on your mind?
Well, Mr. Christiansen, first of all, it is supposed to be historic, so we can fight the patriarchy. Don't you remember?
Okay.
Shut up, faggot.
Yeah. Sorry, I was late on the button. I got it somewhere.
Shut up, faggot.
There it is.
Well, I emailed you earlier, and I don't know if you saw it or not, but there are people claiming that this Shinona Hendricks is on meth.
Shiloh.
Or is it meth?
Shinona.
I'm sorry, I misspoke.
Oh, whatever. It's one of those redneck names. It's like
I like
Shaniqua from
I like
Black People.
Shiloh. Anyway, sorry.
I mean, I like
Okay.
it too, but it's still a redneck name. There's no getting around that.
No, I was thinking Shinola.
Speaking of rednecks, sorry to derail. Speaking of rednecks, on meth, you say?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the claim.
Like on meth during the exchange?
I don't think that's the claim, but they just claim meth head.
Okay, like in general.
Yeah. And for those in the audience that don't know, I'm from Iowa, so I know what a meth head looks like.
Okay.
She is not on
And
meth.
so your analysis is
No meth.
okay.
Maybe a little bit.
Looked like she
might
had
have done a little
intact
bit of meth.
teeth, though I guess you don't
Let's be
always have to
positive.
consume it by mouth, right?
She dabbles
Yeah.
in meth.
Yeah.
Possibly, but I'm not going to say that she does. But I'm not going to say definitively that she's never done meth.
Who's saying that? Because I've the unconfirmed claims on X that I've seen are the opposite, actually. That she is a mom who has a husband who works full time and supports the family, supports the kids. So who is saying? Like, is there any evidence for this?
No, just leftist Facebook claiming random shit.
Oh, okay, just defaming her.
Oh yes, the most reliable of sources, leftist Facebook.
The same people who claim that Austin Metcalf yelled the N-word before he went after Carmelo Anthony and all that nonsense.
And that Trayvon Martin was a 12-year-old boy when he was shot.
Yes, that too.
Speaking of that,
and that Michael Brown was putting his hands up, etc., etc., etc.
It's like every Black Lives Matter legend has to have some massive lie tied to him. Hands up, don't shoot. Just Skittles and tea with Trayvon. Of course, I Can't Breathe with George Floyd. Every single one has like some myth applied to him.
Yeah, have you noticed that all of their heroes and their martyrs are all monsters?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, and there was the Philando Castile case. I remember that up in Minnesota, where the guy got shot because he said, "I have a pistol," and then started reaching for his wallet, which is quite frankly stupid.
Yeah.
Well, stupid, but that was like the one case where the person wasn't actually like just an animal.
Like, that was probably one of the more debatable ones. Was that? Yeah. Didn't that cop get punished too? Forget that was.
I don't remember.
That was a very racist Asian cop in that case. I remember that one.
So he was fired rather than thrown in prison for the rest of his life, a la Derek Chauvin.
I don't know if, maybe he got although the Asian cop in the Chauvin case went to prison too, just for standing there effectively, just like providing
things are escalating as we get closer to the sort of current point in time. There have been plenty of cases before where it's like, oh, this was racist, but they didn't actually, try to ruin the cop's life. They just sort of transferred him elsewhere or whatever. Yeah. And then after that, they were getting fired. And then after that, now we've reached the point where people will go to prison for being present.
Yeah, and even the guys who didn't go to prison, like to your point, Darren Wilson in the Michael Brown case, he was acquitted. Or he didn't go to trial even, right? Did they even charge him? I don't think he went.
I don't remember, but he didn't wind up being convicted of anything.
Right. There was no crime. He didn't do anything wrong, but his life was ruined. There was a big profile of like where he was hiding years later trying to live a normal life, but he can't. Not only can he not work as a police officer because no department will hire him, even though he didn't do anything wrong, he can't get a job at, like, I think they described him as like a shoe salesman or something. He couldn't even work just retail at a store. It was very difficult to get a job just because of the heat that comes with him, even though he did nothing wrong. So even if people don't go to prison, their lives still get ruined by the mob treatment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cody,
But
do you
to
have?
circle back to just,
Yeah, go ahead and we'll get you a closing thought before we let you go.
well, I have multiple closing thoughts though.
Well, you got to pick.
First of all, like the stream, because liking the stream means the algorithm goes. So everyone watching, like the stream, or I'm gonna send you pictures of my newborn calves.
Well, thank you for the promotion.
Oh, no.
I appreciate that. Although, trying to catch the algorithm, good freaking luck, man. But I appreciate the effort.
Yep.
You're going to catch
Also,
a dedicated only for you hit piece before you catch the algorithm.
Yeah, those are the two unreachables for sure. But we'll try. Maybe the same
You
day.
said about Russ earlier, and I do own a Colt single action army. If you'd like any more information on them too, later.
The only one I have is a single action 22 replica. I don't have like a proper revolver, and so I don't have experience with exactly that gun. But the action,
that's close enough.
Yeah, the action on the 22, I believe, is identical, and that thing's not firing unless it's broken or you have the trigger depressed or you pull the trigger. It's not happening otherwise.
Which means Alec Baldwin killed a woman.
Yeah, he did. You can't. My position on what happened has always been, I think he cocked the hammer while either accidentally having the finger on the trigger and then he released on the hammer, or he had the trigger somehow depressed and just didn't realize it. But I'm convinced that that's what happened, because in his description of events, he says, I pulled the hammer back and then it just went bang. Well, that only happens if the trigger is pulled.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, he had to really he had to really pull that hammer back. It couldn't have been half-assed, because there are 3 sears that catch before it actually goes all the way back. So if you only pull it back like a little bit, then it'll catch on one sear. If you pull it back a little bit more than that, it'll catch on the second. And I think there's a third one. I don't remember. I don't own one of these, but I've handled one. I think there's a third one, but until it goes all the way back and all of those sears are released, it won't fly forward.
It's half cock and full cock, but from below half cock, it can't fire.
Yeah.
Oh, so there's only one sear to.
Yeah, you've got.
I know on mine, it's a half and full. But,
okay.
No, to be honest, mine's actually an upgraded version, so it's got a trigger disconnect and all that stuff in it.
Well,
it's a more safety remake.
Alec Baldwin, full cock, confirmed. Anyway.
But
that's a big game, man.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for your call and your insights. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thanks.
Take care now.
All right. That'll do it on calls for the evening. Appreciate everybody who called in tonight. We'll hop into email questions, and I need to remind people, need to make a habit of it. If you would like to send something for consideration on the show by text, you can do that through the contacts page of my website. That's mattchristiansenmedia.com/contact. Look for the MC Live questions box. You can type in there and we'll take your question, your comment, your thought on the stream. Starting tonight with Unique NM. Maybe Unique Name is his name. I don't know. Do you think deportations are waiting until after the school season? I'm sure school stuff makes it complicated, both on the ground and politically. Now, I'm sure that college campuses where you're seeing a lot of these foreign students getting apprehended and then they're going through deportation proceedings, I'm sure that the college campuses themselves are making that process harder than it would be maybe in other locations. But I was wondering, does school being in session actually change anything about the legal process or the legal status? As far as I understand, student visa is valid over the summer or over winter break. If you have a valid student visa just because you're on break for the year doesn't mean you have to leave and go home to your country. So nothing about the legal status changes in relationship to like the school schedule. But the only thing that might change with the end of spring semester, or however, a particular school might be structured, is that the location of the detainment might change. So perhaps it'd be a little bit easier off campus than on, depending on who you're going after. But my understanding is the student visas that are getting revoked and then the deportation proceedings that are pursuant to that, I don't think the volume on that is very high. They tend to be high profile because these people tend to be activists. They tend to be well connected to media, and we hear a lot about them, like what's his name at Columbia? Mahmoud, who's the guy that everybody's all Khalil, that's right. You get cases like that get a lot of media coverage, but the volume of deportations is not people, chanting death to America on campus or whatever. And I know Mahmoud Khalil's case is kind of complicated, but the volume is really people who have committed crimes while in the country beyond their illegal entry and presence itself. So even if you had an easier time going after these students, unless I'm missing something, the volume of students compared to the volume of criminal aliens otherwise who are the targets for deportation is very small. Long way of saying I don't think that the school schedule is going to change much in terms of deportation volume. And of course, you got the courts to deal with anyway.
I think the only way that the school schedule might interfere with that kind of thing is arresting them on a school campus might be a little optically difficult. And then it also makes their whereabouts a little bit less predictable.
If they didn't want to do that, then why are they already doing it though, too? It's like they didn't hesitate with a bunch of these people they've already done it to. So
yeah, I'm there with you. I don't know.
I guess Khalil was arrested at his apartment, wasn't he? But we've seen these videos of these people getting scooped up on college campuses. At least my understanding is they were on campus. But anyway, thank you. Unique name. Winter is Coming says, a common theme lately on the show has been the moral degradation of our society. Core values and or morals cannot be instilled among the population if they do not desire it. Social responsibility requires devotion and loyalty to a person, or that a person must develop themselves. Moral behavior is a survival behavior above the individual level. To ensure the loyalty and devotion to a system, authority and responsibility must be equal. To permit irresponsible authority is to sow disaster. To hold a person responsible for anything he does not control leads to dissension. Do you find this to be true? And if that is the case, perhaps this is where our country is headed, or has been heading. Now, I'm a little confused by the premise here, but I think what you're saying is something to the effect of people have to choose proper moral values. They're hard to impose, even at gunpoint. How do we bring those choices about? And I would grant the point that people do have to choose proper values. They do have to choose morality. That if you want a healthy, functional society, people have to be making that choice. You can't just point guns at everybody and say behave, although sometimes you can. And in the context of correcting criminal behavior, that's what we try to do, of course. But the thing is, the truth is a very persistent thing. And we have to think about morality, as in what is right and what is wrong. That is the truth. Morality is not just something that we invented to make society more efficient or something like that. Morality is a fundamentally true part of the world, like gravity or any other property that we associate with the world that we can't really change ourselves. Morality is the same sort of thing. It's a set of objective rules about the world. And whether you choose to be a moral person or not, whether you correctly identify what is right and what is wrong in terms of your behavior or not, if you are living in defiance of those rules, intentionally or accidentally, makes life very hard. If you're a thief, for example, that catches up to you. Even if you're just personally living a lie, whatever that lie might be, that catches up to you. When people reference karma, that's what they mean. That means you have been living in defiance of moral truth. Now you're paying the price. So I definitely grant the premise that that government can't effectively install a proper moral core in people. The government reflects the people. That's how it works. However, the force of truth in the world can and will impose itself on you. So if we as a society live our lives in defiance of moral truth, what happens? Our society decays. We suffer. The only way to fix it is to return to moral truth. That's the meaning behind the saying that hard times create strong men. That's why. So to bring this back to the emailer's point, proper morals and values can't really be instilled in you by government, or they can't be instilled in you necessarily if you don't desire them. Government doesn't really do that. But the world will eventually make you desire it, because if you engage in degenerate moral decay, you are going to create suffering, and the world will leave you no choice but to embrace that moral truth to get back to health and prosperity and all those good things. Anyway, your thoughts, Batman?
I don't think I'm too far off from your position, to be honest. I do think that there's a little bit more wiggle room in that where, justice cannot be served at a 100% commensurate rate with crimes committed or moral failures have been undertaken. But somebody will get away with being a thief and then live a great life outside of the reach of whatever justice system exists, which is why the sort of concept of heaven and hell, while I'm again not a Christian myself, the concept of heaven and hell is sort of intriguing to me, because it means that while you may not see it, that justice will be dished out later. You know what I mean? But
well, yeah, and even if you don't necessarily consider yourself a person of Christian faith, and of course I didn't until relatively recently, what you're saying there is you still believe in a fundamental moral truth through which the world operates. And even if the guy steals the candy bar or steals the Xbox or whatever today, that on balance, that moral truth will even that stuff out. That person, if he doesn't pay today, he will pay eventually, either because his habits will catch up to him, or if there's some sort of divine justice after the fact. But yeah, I think we all agree. There are rules to the world. We didn't make it up that it's bad to steal. That's a true thing, and if you don't obey that rule, you're gonna find out.
It's a true thing, and it's a thing that has been enforced in basically every human society that has ever existed that we're aware of. Right? If you steal something from somebody else and you live in friggin' Babylonia thousands of years ago, I mean, they'd still cut your hands off, right?
Yeah, maybe we should go back. A lot of things we should go back to. But
Singaporean rules. Let's do this.
Yeah, we got a lot of fingers to chop in California, where they've been getting away with it for far too long. Anyway, I think that gets at the spirit of your question, Winter is Coming. If I missed the point, of course, send a follow-up, and I'll be happy to address it. Thank you for, as always, asking about the concept of objective morality. Love it. My favorite thing to talk about. Lastly, I got one to the email, to the show email inbox. Just says, no. Why are the Matt and Blonde videos private? Could you please unprivate them? Well, I guess you missed the news, sir. But that's a good reason for me to remind everyone. The YouTube episodes of the former iteration of the show were made private because they do create a vulnerability for me. I can still get strikes on my channel for things now said by someone else who has since abandoned it. My intention, of course, is not to delete the show. I'm not trying to hide it. I want people who want to reference it for whatever reason to have access to it. So the entire history of the show has been archived on a separate dedicated Rumble channel, thanks to producer Tim. That Rumble channel is Matt and Blonde Archive. Or you can just go to my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com, click on Archives. You'll find it right there. And all my movie reviews, too, if you want to enrage yourself with a stroll down memory lane and remember how bad my movie takes are. But anyway, thank you guys. Appreciate your emails. If you'd like to send an email for consideration on the show, again, contact page of my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com/contact. Look for the MC Live questions box. All right, Mr. Batman, we just got to catch up on Super Chat, and then we'll call it a night. So I'm going to start over on Rumble. Dangerous Spaces, our trusty call screener. Welcome once again to any of Frank's audience in the chat. Maybe consider liking the stream and subscribing to the channel. Matt does 2 live streams, 2 news analysis videos every week. Well, thank you for the promotion. I appreciate that. And of course, thanks to Frank's audience. Appreciate them stopping by. Backtrack Grooves. Could you invite the aristocratic utensil? He would be willing to join. I checked. He talks about Ireland news. No more Crockett crack-ass cracker. What do you mean? I want to be the number one. I want to be the world's leading source on Crockett news. Yeah, I mean, of course I'm open to new personalities for the stream. I can't commit to that on air because I don't know who this person is. But if you want to send me some information or their material, I'll be happy to take a look. And thanks for supporting the show. GR, my dirty ass riggers. Always got to be careful. Good call tonight. Always appreciate on-air time. Imagine being so fragile that a word that you use so freely can hurt your feelings. How does it feel to be a bitch? I'm going to give you some Rust spoilers. After ending somebody else's life with a revolver, Baldwin had to do all the scenes after using his finger and shouting pew pew for the rest of the filming. Now, I know that's a joke, but I could see that being true. They just have to digitally edit the guns in.
No, they had to because they had to fire the armorer.
That's true. It might have just been a necessity. Remember, and the armorer girl, she went to prison, right? Or she has jail time. Does she not? Forget what she got convicted. I forget what her. While I read this, will you Google Hannah Gutierrez Reed sentence for me?
Oh yeah, sure.
See if we can find it. GR says, I forgot to ask if you're willing to watch that Chinese reality show if I get you the link. You can send me the link. I mean, I like I said, I hate reading TV and reading movies. So if I have to do that, low chance, but I'm willing to take a look. There's also a video I can send you.
Yeah.
So did she get sentenced to prison?
18 months.
And do you know when she went? Or if she went yet? Anyway.
Not yet.
Also a video I can send you recapping it in English, of course. I saw it and you do not need subs. Okay, well, if there's English dub, maybe I'll give it a chance. Thank you, GR. Also says the Korean reality show I was thinking of is called Singles Inferno. It's on Netflix in English. Okay. Well, maybe they did a decent dub on it and it's watchable. Maybe you and your wife can check it out. Not my thing unless they're absolute train wrecks. Well, we enjoy some trash TV, trash dating TV specifically. So I'm open to it. Dangerous Spaces says, reminder, the call-in server is not for general chat, not trying to be a dick, but we know the feds were at least monitoring the old tenant server. It's just for everyone's safety. Fed sounder here. Well, sure.
Fed.
Yeah, it's not a general chat thing. And maybe if like people want a chat avenue for listeners of this show, I could figure out a way to do that. But yeah, at least when I started doing this in the fall, it was right after Tenet had right after the feds had scooped all of my Discord communication pursuant to the Tenet investigation. And so I just really didn't want anybody to be scooped up likewise in that way. So I just made the decision we're not doing text chat on this channel. It's just for calls. But maybe going forward, I could think about
there is the old like unofficial server, the one that used to serve as the call-in show server.
Yeah, but like Mustafa says, you must never go there. I thought you learned your lesson in that server.
Well, I was taught one. I wouldn't say that it has kept me from going back.
I'm not active on the server, and so I have no idea what goes on in there. It still exists though. But for people, the thing is, I'm not a part of it, and so I don't even link to it. Maybe I have some like incidental link here or there somewhere, but it's not something that's promoted on any of my channels or my website or anything like that, as far as I'm aware. If it is, it's not intentionally. But given the new iteration of the show, if people want a way to connect with each other, I'll have to think about that, a way that makes that possible without putting everyone at risk of, I mean, if you're on Discord, you're at risk of Fed oversight. That's just the way it is. But I felt like, if you're directly connected to me, you're at particular risk, at least at the time. And then the other thing is like, I don't know. It's always like Discord servers are just very difficult to manage because they become their own little cities with all their little interactions and things. Like people want you to police this or police that. And I just like, it's great if people who like to listen want to connect. I'm all for that. But I am not interested in policing whatever drama is going on a Discord server that is tangentially connected to me. Not that I'm saying many will do that. I know how it goes. And I want to leave that part of my life behind where I had to like manage Discord bullshit. So however I could do that minimizes my involvement in that way, I'll have to think about. Anyway, Dangerous Spaces also said, did I send you the story about a child rapist immigrant found living in Massachusetts? He had a child care center run in his house. The fact people support these pricks is so incredibly fucked up. I haven't heard that, but it sounds right on brand with the prior administration, at least.
Well, he'll be their next hero.
Yeah, once he's deported.
Yeah, he'll be their next hero because, I mean, they don't care about children. That's why they pluck them out of mothers' wombs and, promote that sort of behavior.
Those aren't children. They're clumps of cells, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think even they know that that's not true.
I saw, yeah, I mean, they'll use what was it? I think I saw some clip of like Charlie Kirk arguing with some, college student about it, but the language that he was asking her, like, okay, if it's not a baby, why do you call it a baby shower? Why isn't, because it's not a baby, it's a fetus. That was her point. It's a fetus. It's a parasite.
Well, and that's another point that's been addressed by a lot of people. What does fetus mean? Right?
Well,
it's
yeah,
Latin for small human.
Yeah, the idea that fetus is distinct from human life is a bizarre premise, but that's what she was trying to
right. And
say.
I'm saying, I think even these people know that that's not true. And they're trying to basically gaslight you into believing believing something else.
Well, fundamentally, their definition of what counts as life depends on whether the woman wants it or not. That's it.
Correct.
They'll feel sorrow for a woman who has a miscarriage. But if that same woman went to Planned Parenthood that same week and decided it's not for me and terminated the pregnancy, that's fine. There's no sorrow in that situation because the life doesn't count because the woman didn't want it. But of course, that's a nonsensical position to take. The idea that human life has value only according to whether another person assigns it value or not. Congratulations. You're part of the elite club of every evil empire that has ever existed. Explaining away life in that way, or just thinking that you have the authority to determine what counts as a life or not, that's a fundamentally evil premise, but they'll try to explain it away.
Yeah.
Anyway. All set on Rumble. Let me hop over to Odyssey. I'll get to YouTube and Tippy. Thank you guys over there. I know you've been patient. Did you see this? There's like this new fat black chick statue in Times Square.
Yes, I know. I know of it.
Let me see if I can find it. Black woman.
They had to put something up to replace the all the founding fathers that they tore down. So naturally, it has to be some sort of figure that they can rally around. So naturally, it's a hilariously unattractive, aggressively ethnic depiction.
Yeah, it definitely looks
wearing
like
yoga pants because art is dead and we
It's
killed
not
it.
against the law, ho. Fuck you.
Is she nipping out
though.
too? I can't tell. We got big nips poking through that t-shirt. I don't know.
I don't want to look, man.
I'm curious. We got any moose knuck
My
on there?
condolences.
I can't tell. Anyway, I haven't looked at like why, whatever. I don't care. Anyway.
What a tremendous waste of metal.
Well,
you know how many ARs you could make with that shit?
What is it made out of? Bronze?
I don't know. I'm just being silly.
I guess you probably make the ammunition casings out of it or
shell
something
casings,
like that.
yeah.
Anyway, where did I? Oh, I was over on Odyssey. That's right. Let me get back to it. I got distracted by the beautiful statue. Says a blanket says, Matt, what do you think about Tyson Foods removing all artificial dyes by the end of May? I haven't heard about it, but our food is very artificial and very processed. And even though I love me some Skippy peanut butter, I get it. We probably got to scale back on some of this stuff that is not natural anymore. What do you think about this? Some of the Diddy list being released. Also news to me. Did you see that? I didn't know we got the Diddy list.
The whole Diddy trial has sort of been put on the cultural back burner, hasn't it? Right? People aren't really paying attention to it anymore, and I think it's largely because everybody knows he's guilty of sin. So they're just like, okay, well, tell me when sentencing happens. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
Trump's been doing all kinds of stuff and hogging the spotlight a little bit. So
Yeah, it really has disappeared. And I mean, yeah, I have not paid a lot of attention to it myself, so I'm just as guilty. But anyway, let me hop over to, yeah, that's all on Odyssey. Oh, the meme he sent me of the black woman statue has a giant, thing hanging off it.
Michelle Obama appendage.
It's supposed to be a Michelle Obama statue. That's the idea. Thank you for that. Anyway, over on YouTube, Long Dong John from the comment section, India v. Pakistan. Okay, here we go. World War Poo.
I didn't think of that. I like that.
It's on now, and it's going to be a shit show. All right. A shit show in the streets, specifically.
Accurate.
Ghostwell 22.
I would like to see. I would like to determine if you threw a hand grenade into the streets of India, how many pounds of shit would you move?
Maybe we'll find out soon once this gets even hotter. Ghost Wheel. Poo in Lieu versus Pakistan. Oh, Pakistan. There you go. Going nuclear this summer. The future has never been brighter. Maybe. Get your sunglasses ready. It's going to be a bright summer for sure. Long Tongue John also says, let's be real though. Anyone who thinks any Epstein files weren't destroyed a decade plus ago is more than a little naive. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Well, would I or could I believe that they were destroyed long ago by, whoever, whether we're talking people in the Biden administration or people even in the prior Trump administration? Yeah, of course. The problem is that Pam Bondi keeps promising otherwise. So has she seen things?
At this point, I'm convinced that Pam Bondi is basically like a, what do you call it? Like a tapeworm. She's poisoning things from the inside. Like she's making all these promises that make Trump look bad and saying all these things. I mean, she's doing the media tour far more than she's doing her actual job. Right? You can't find a day she doesn't appear on Fox News or whatever. So
she's definitely had her time there.
She had a sketch record before she even got the job. I was not holding my breath for her to be great, and she was still a disappointment.
The gun stuff was the big red flag, no pun intended. Yeah,
yes.
Her gun record in Florida was not great, but I did not expect. It's just the promotion of it. If you said we got Epstein stuff, we're looking through it. This is a very complex case with a lot of victims. We're looking to protect them. I'm going to do the best I can. Okay, fine. It's promising the world and then under delivering that everybody's sick of, and she just can't help herself.
A lot of people were happy that she was saying the right things. Prior to her taking the position and stuff like that. And I can, to an extent, I can definitely understand why you'd be hopeful. Trouble is, of course, again, her track record's not good, and she's a lawyer, right? And they're paid to say the right thing at the right time. That's what they do. They're like actors, just with slightly different study material.
Yeah. Probably. She does seem like quite the performer. Calvin, I guess my son Calvin. Dad, I was at the playground when I sent my black friend to get my bottle from mommy's bag, and mom called him a effing little N punk.
Get out of my face, you fucking nigga!
That was not at our park. Okay. But I don't know. If that happened tonight, I guess I'll hear about it when I get home.
Didn't realize your wife's name was Shiloh.
Injured Guardian. Some folks learn to use an historic, fill in the noun from scripture using an holy, fill in the noun sometimes. By the way, YouTube, go to Dark Jessamine by the N Crew. Is that how I say that word? Gethsemane. Do you know that word? What am I going to
assume that you're correct?
It's another musical performance. In the interest of not getting, maybe I can play a little bit of this, but I always got to be very careful with musical bits because you never know what you get copyright dinged for. But this sounds like, church organ,
church music.
Yeah. Anyway,
Cool.
I'll have to leave it so I don't get dinged. But thank you, Injured Guardian. Let me give a quick refresh. I think we're all set. Over on Rumble Dangerous Spaces says, as someone who ended up as an admin on the old server, I can back up what Matt is saying. I had no interest on being the parent for server participants, but it's what happened far too often. It sucks. Yeah. And I know most people are like that, but it's what happens when you own a Discord server. People start arguing and all of a sudden it's your fault because you won't do this or that. And it's not something I have a lot of time or energy for.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of time for Discord chats anymore, so my participation in the server has been greatly limited. But I sort of, it's better that way, right? I'll pop in, I'll participate in a conversation of, maybe once or twice a month, and then when I'm distracted or I have to go and do something, or my responsibilities sort of rally my attention. If I didn't finish a conversation, whoops. Oh, well.
It's probably a good way to meet people, but yeah, meet on Discord, move it off Discord so I don't have to police your interaction. That's my stance. Anyway,
that's fair.
Anything else you want to say before we're out of here?
No, I think we're set.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for participating in the stream tonight. Appreciate our live chatters. Appreciate our super chatters. Everybody making the live production a success. If you're listening on demand later, thank you kindly as well for supporting the show. Thanks to my guest, Frank from quitefrankly.tv. It's where you find his show live weekdays 7 Eastern. Thanks to Batman for sitting in tonight. Thanks to producer Tim for all his continued assistance. Thanks to our callers and emailers as well. MattChristiansenMedia.com is where you find everything show related. I'll be back on Sunday. Have a great week until then.
Take care, y'all.